Hi, my name is Mike McCormick, and in this video I'm going to show you why, if you keep doing what everyone else is doing, you'll likely get the same results they're getting, and why you probably won't like those results. In 2000, there was a movie made about the famous 1991 shipwreck of the Andrea Gale, a commercial fishing boat from Massachusetts. In that movie, several severe weather patterns combined in a way that had never been reported before in recorded history. Today we have a similar confluence of negative forces, and unless you gear up and prepare yourself, you and your child are likely to suffer some pretty adverse impacts also. We aren't talking about life and death here, but we are talking about decisions that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars and have a significant impact on your child's adult life. The best time to start our process is before your child selects a college or a major. For most people, this is in their junior year or during the first semester of their senior year in high school. The second best time is when they get to college and either they haven't chosen their major yet or the major they initially chose has turned out not to work out too well. In this latter case, the only additional information they have to choose their next major is that they know one major that didn't work out, but they don't have any other additional information that helps them make a better decision the next time. Here's the wake-up call I got recently. I was doing some research when I stumbled across this piece of information. At first I thought this couldn't be right or accurate, that only 36% of college students graduate in 4 years or less. But I have since verified this number in several different ways, and it makes me incredibly sad. First, for our children's sake, and secondly, for our bank account's sake. What a waste of human and financial resources. One of the main reasons for the results shown on the last slide is that students change their major after they start college, often multiple times. So I decided to look at how they were choosing their majors in the first place. I've also been working with businesses for nearly 10 years using similar tools to help them identify the common traits in their top performers. And I've been working with students from several private Christian schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area since 2004. Probably one of the most common strategies is to choose a major based on which classes you make better grades in high school. You know the drill. If you're good in math, choose engineering or business. If you're good in English, choose communications or English or maybe education. The second way that students choose majors is based on more subjective criteria. I've seen this third reason both overemphasized and underemphasized. Either they focus way too much on how much money they think a graduate with this degree can make, or they don't stop to think about whether a graduate with this degree can ever get a paying job. The real scary part is when students make these choices. It's not uncommon for them to choose their major sometime between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. in the morning on a school night during the first semester of their senior year. Why do I say this? Because either their parents or their guidance counselor have set a deadline for when they have to complete their college applications, and this is just one piece of information that has to go on that form. If they haven't planned or prepared well for this unique moment in time, well then the rest is history. Here's the reality check. The average college student changes majors 2 to 3 times and takes 5.5 years to graduate from college. On this graph, I use $20,000 a year for annual cost at a state university, because that's what I'm currently paying for my son to go to school in Texas, and $50,000 annually for private and select colleges, even though I know that there are several that are closer to $55,000 a year than they are to $50,000. So you can do the math or see your college expenses growing based on how long it takes your child to graduate. The biggest problems are that everyone is focusing on getting in, and not many are focusing on what the picture looks like when they will eventually get out. High school counselors can be really helpful, and I've worked with some really good ones over the years. What you need to ask yourself is, how much time do they have to spend with your child? The average counselor has to work with twice as many students as is recommended. And recent statistics say that they spend an average of 38 minutes one-on-one with each high school senior. College admissions don't even care what major the student has selected. If they meet the minimum criteria for admissions and there's space available, then they'll get their first choice of major. If space isn't available in that major, Then they get their second choice, etc., etc. If it's a liberal arts college, students often don't have to choose a major until their sophomore or junior year. And the placement offices I've spoken to aren't much help when they make these decisions. When I visited a liberal arts college on the West Coast with my son during his junior year in high school, I asked the placement office how they help students to choose a major. When they answered, I didn't know whether or not I should laugh or cry. They were asking me for $40,000 a year, and then they were using a $25 tool that was neither reliable nor valid for the purpose that they were using it. And I knew that because I'd been studying and using all kinds of assessment instruments for the last 10 years. This last bullet is why I decided to market to you, the parents. I actually met with the chancellor of a major university system, someone who's responsible for 9 college campuses and over 103,000 students. And while he agreed that the graduation rates were a big problem, he was non-committal about fixing that problem because if he did, and I quote, then I'd have to reduce staff. Think about that statement for a second. So the net of all of this, if you don't help your child get focused on this decision process, no one else will either. And therein lies the problem. So we take a much different approach. We take the cover off, look under the hood, and see what makes the engine run. Then we compare your results to other working adults who've been singled out as top performers in their respective fields. I believe individuals should ask 2 very serious questions when choosing a career. Number 1, can I do the work? Second question, will I like it? Now we use a whole person approach. This whole person approach is what separates us from everyone else. And not only do we provide much more comprehensive information, we've developed a proven process to help you maximize the information. We start with the head, where we measure cognitive ability and speed of learning. This information is really crucial, and not many tools attempt to measure this. The heart relates to the type of work activities we enjoy doing on a daily basis. Hands is an analogy to how we like to get things done and how we interact with others. This is probably the most common thing that assessments measure and what most people are most familiar with. It's also the most often misused information. Feet can be thought of as our spiritual or motivational gifts, and almost none of our competitors will go here. It's an indicator of the type of work we're made for, our long-term preferences, and it can greatly impact our success and feelings of significance if we can align these gifts with the work we choose to pursue. This obviously means we're using biblical principles in our approach, and we don't shy away from that. That doesn't mean if one isn't a Christian they can't use our tools. It does mean that we will teach from a model that was initially outlined and demonstrated in the Bible. The final piece is that we take all of this information and show a person how their results compare to those who've been identified as excellent in a chosen field. So that's it. I've showed you why. If you do simply what everyone else does, your college experience will likely be like most other people, where nearly 2/3 of all students spend at least 1 extra semester in school, and usually more. What are you doing to make sure that you're in the other third that graduates on time with a degree that leads to fulfilling work that you are uniquely gifted to accomplish? Our process is to use a whole person assessment tool that takes about an hour to complete, followed by a review of your results, and then taking additional time to create an action plan for how to use this information to make wise decisions about your future. The training will be provided through online modules so you and your child can move through the process at your own pace. We will lead you through the entire process 1 step at a time. The first step is to gather the information. To get started, click on the Order Now button below. We look forward to working with you.